So today I'm going to cover a topic of waiting in line. So waiting in line for your dogs at any trial event. So that event can be an agility trial, an obedience trial, dock diving, fast cat, whatever it is that you are attending, where your dogs are going to have to queue up for their turn. So there might be one dog in line, there might be 4 or 5 dogs in line. If it's something like fast cat and they're backed up, you could see 8 to 10 dogs in line. And it could get quite chaotic because genuinely what you see is the activity is going on usually within sight of the dog. So the dog is able to see the activity going on. And they've participated in this activity. It's a high value activity and the dog wants to be over there doing the activity. So if it sees a dog running in the agility ring, if it sees a dog chasing the lure, if it hears a dog splashing into the pool, there are certain changes in arousal level that are occurring for the dog and it wants in on the action. However, as a handler, we want good management in line so that the dog understands that it gets to go into that higher arousal itself. It's ready state, it's ready to go on a verbal cue, not just because it sees the thing. Also bite dog sports as well, just because they see the blinds or the field or the decoy or the helper, they still have to come onto the field under control. So what I want to challenge everybody to do this week is to start to, in their everyday classes, their group classes, where usually people are either sitting while the dog is working, sometimes the dogs are in crates, sometimes they're just being held on leash. And I'm going to challenge you, instead of just doing those things, is to start to train your dog in class how to queue up in line or line up under control, no yanking on the leash, no charging other dogs, no pulling you into the space of other dogs, because what sometimes happens is this dog's doing just fine, this person's back there, they start out 6 feet away, and all of a sudden their dog sees the action over there, pulls and drags their handler into the space of this dog, which was perfectly fine, and now there's an altercation. So we need to start taking control of our dog's leash manners. There is absolutely no reason for you as a handler to allow your dog to pull you off your feet towards another dog or towards an activity that is happening. So in a previous video I talked about management versus negligence versus training. So negligence in this situation would be allowing your dog at the end of the leash, it's pulling, it's barking, it's leaping, it's dragging you, you're coming off your feet. Maybe you're screaming at the dog, stop it, no, blah, 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 nothing's occurring. That's negligence. You have not prepared that dog how to wait in line, and you should not be in line upsetting everybody else. And people will say, oh, but it's fast cat, and he sees the bag and it's prey drive. What part of waiting in line is prey drive? 0. If your dog can't see the lure and keep its head together, instead of waiting in line, you need to put a person in line holding your spot that is not you. And when it is your dog's turn and you have kept it away, again, that falls under special consideration. Don't rely on the clubs or the volunteers to do that. If you have a dog that can't handle standing in line, you're going to have to bring somebody, a friend, and put them in line for you so that you can keep your dog safe and you can keep other people safe. So again, negligence is doing nothing. Negligence is just waiting and making excuses and saying, oh, he's excited. That's a high drive activity. Other dogs do it. Please stop the excuses with it. So when we're talking about management would be occupying the dog while it is in line. And a lot of times people do that with food. I mean, if you're doing it with food well, it can work for you as long as the dog's threshold of arousal stays within a working frame of mind where it can stay focused on your lure as you're kind of just bribing them a little bit into position and into focus with you. And that's totally fine. If your dog can stay under control and the arousal level is kept at where the dog is not barking, lunging, screaming, pulling you off your feet, kind of babysitting the dog with food is a good alternative. So I'm going to go through that scenario first, stop the video, and then I will start a second video on trained responses while waiting in line. So if you are in class with other dogs, I want you to start lining up while other dogs are working and teaching your dog to accept being still. I am not addressing right now tugging in line because I do feel that many dogs are too close together with that. I will address that further off, how you can tug safely in line. But that doesn't involve a dog that's tugging so hard. Again, they're pulling you off your feet, backing up into the space of other dogs. That's just plain uncalled for and rude. So I'm going to grab my dog that's just off camera with a leash on, and I'm going to just speak to you about management with food. So with that, genuinely, your food's going to be in your hands, like as a lure. You might have some in a pocket prior to going into the ring. Of course, we all know to get rid of our food before we go into the ring. So I'm going to grab her. Break. Good. So I have my dog and I've got some food. So if I'm doing management, what I want to do is I want the dog in one of 3, possibly 4 orientations to me. If I'm waiting in line, I want to be face to face with the dog so the dog sees the lure, it sees I have it, action's going on behind it, and I feed it. That's perfect. I also can put the dog next to me, and by next to me, I'm going to lure them right around, and I'm going to put the dog close enough where I can feel that it's touching my body. That way, if somebody's walking up this side, I've got my dog focused. I genuinely like to put my dog on the side of my body that is between the action and a safer zone. So if there was a reactive dog or ring action on this side of her body, I would move my dog to this side and lure her over and put her there. So I could have the dog in front of me and watching. I can have the dog on the side of me as somebody goes by. Again, I like to put them on the side that is opposite of where the action is going on. When you are doing this work with management, I'm having to look up to look at the camera, but it becomes a little bit negligent if this is what you do. So here's your dog and you're occupying it with food and you're staring at the ring trying to remember, if it's agility, the course. Your eye contact, your connection is off the dog. Don't rely on this snack to keep your dog connected to you, because if things go down over there, your dog is coming off this snack and is going to be lunging in that direction. So when I am using food as management in line, if the dog is next to me and I'm not looking directly at the camera now, I have my dog in my peripheral, especially as people are going by. It is my responsibility to be looking at this animal, to read it, to see where is it looking, like it's on the food. And believe it or not, I'm going to break her off for a second. Break. Believe it or not, dogs can have their nose or their lips on a piece of food, yet their eyeballs could be off to the left showing concern about something. And if it's not concern, they might be showing arousal towards something. So if you're not connected and paying attention, and this is management, because I'm not asking the dog to take these positions, I'm luring the dog into the positions. The leash is also short but slack. I also see people do this. So here's my dog, here's the entire length of leash, and here's the cookie. Now, if this dog screws up and my management fails, my dog is going to go from 0 to 6 feet away and half a second, and a dog of this size is going to yank me off my feet. So this is part management, part negligence, because you can see how long the leash is. But if I'm standing there like this, and I have eye contact, and I'm connected to the dog, and I'm using the food to keep the dog in line while other people are coming by, whether they're tugging, whether they're getting too close, whether their dog is a little bit out of control, I should not be moving through the show site like this. Here's all the leash. And if I'm doing management and I'm moving the dog around and I have all this leash, management fails. Again, dog's going to be 6 feet off in whatever direction that they're going to be. If I'm going to move my dog on leash with food, the hand that's closest to the dog is going to have the food. The leash is going to be taken up and held short but slack. And I'm going to watch both the dog and where I am walking, and I'm going to bring the dog wherever I need to bring the dog through management. Good. And I'm going to stop. If I have to check the ring gait, the gait order, if it's agility or I need to check something, I am going to bring the dog in front of me, and I'm going to have it sit so I can keep an eye on it. If I have to break eye contact just a tiny bit to look up, right now I can see about this height, and I also can see her. If she's a smaller, tinier dog, I'm still going to tuck the dog up in front of me, or if I'm reading the gait here, over there, I'm going to turn the dog and set it so that if this is where people are going in or out, that my dog is away from the action. Break, yes, good dog, good, very good. And again, I'm not going to leave the dog standing there on the whole length of leash. Sometimes you people are standing there and, hi sweetie, and you have your dog and you have your leash like this over your wrist and you're videoing a friend. Look at what my dog is doing right now because I broke connection. Now she hasn't left, but if you just watched her behavior, she sniffed the floor, she's looking over there. There's no connection here. If I'm videoing and this dog screws up, somebody's in trouble because there's no connection going on. Now she just chose to lay down. Lucky for me, there's nothing else going on. But if I'm at a trial and I have the leash over my wrist and I've got my iPhone taping and I'm not paying attention to the dog and I have this dog right close to the action because I'm videoing a friend, I am being so unfair to my poor dog because I'm sticking the dog right next to high arousal with no connection to me, and I'm leaving it both to choices. If it gets anxious, if it gets over aroused, if it gets scared, I'm leaving the dog to fight, flight, or freeze here, no connection with me, terrible mental state, or I'm leaving it without my connection onto the environment, open to somebody else's negligence. So here's your first video homework of the week. Whatever class you are in, you're going to teach your dog to wear the leash and be in one of 3 reinforcement positions for you. A 4th one, maybe, and I'll mention that in another video, in front looking at you, lined up on your left side or lined up on your right side with the dog actually close enough where it's touching your body on a slack but short leash with your eye contact on the dog. If you are in line, the time is over to memorize the course. Your job was during the course walkthrough or while your dog was still in the crate before you got it. Don't stand ringside, disconnected, staring at the course and expect your dog to deal with that disconnection. So, you got your challenge. If you've watched this video and you like it, drop me a Facebook message. Let me know if it helped you. If you're an instructor, give your students this link and help them with management learn how to lure their dogs into reinforcement zones in their body and stay connected. Eye contact matters. Good luck and I will continue this series with the next video on cued behavior, so trained behaviors on leash, which are a step above management. And I also will address tugging with the leash or the toys around a trial site, where it should be done, how it should be done, so that you can engage with your dog, have a great tug session, and not interrupt everybody else that's there.